a pretty nosy neighbor. So if I heard something, I would look out the window and I would just see like these 5 girls. I would tell the police, yeah, it was Allison,
Yep.
Spencer. Like I
I
saw them.
would narc on them so fast. Hello, welcome to Guides the Unknown Other Voices. I'm Kristen, and Will is not here with us today, regrettably, because we're playing in a sandbox that Will is not as familiar with, and truly he was just frightened he couldn't keep up, and I think it's a very founded fear. So I am here with the real queen of horror. You know her, you love her, Zena Dixon. And we are going to talk about Pretty Little Liars Original Sin, which just wrapped up its run on HBO. Zena, thank you so much for being here.
Kristen, thank you so much. Yeah, I remember the last time we spoke, and we were just talking about this before we recorded, but the last time we spoke, we were just oohing and eyeing about, Pretty Little. You understand my heart. I want someone to talk about, like, when it came, like, Pretty Little Liars is a world of its own. Okay, you need to understand it. And so,
yes,
yeah. So when they announced this, I was just so excited that you asked me to join you, so we can.
I mean, how could I not? Because so Zena came on an episode of the show probably like a year and a half ago, where we just spoke about whatever we were watching at the time, and you and I really bonded over a love of teen mystery shows. You turned me on to Nancy Drew, which I ended up binging like right away and loving. And we also spoke about Pretty Little Liars, which you went through, and like. So we got to talk about it. So we're going to adhere to a format that Will and I do a lot of times when we talk about movies or TV, which is that we're going to talk about the show in a spoiler-free way to start, and then we will give you a big shining spoiler warning and just go into it. So, Zena, I basically sort of just said what it was, but like, what's your history with Pretty Little Liars in general? The original show, this, all feelings.
So I remember when it first aired, like the, Pretty Little Liars. I mean, when I first saw the commercials for it, I was sold. I was in, because I think, what year was it? Was it 2007 or 2009, 8 around that?
Sounds right. I think it ended like 2016. So anywhere in that region is probably when it started.
Okay, so I was, kind of leaving my teenhood, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because here I am. No, but I love mystery and I love teen like series, like the drama. I live for it. Of course, horror is everything, but sometimes you just need a little bit of drama. I live a very quiet life. So that's why. But yeah, I've always been like a big fan of, Pretty Little Liars. I love the characters. I love how they would every single week just have us at the edge of our seats. And then what's even great is, like, ever since it became like available on streaming services, you don't have to wait a week. So I'm going back in time to where I'm just like, oh my God, what? Like, I'm sweating. I feel exhausted. You know how, even though you know it's gonna happen,
doesn't matter. You get right back in it.
You get right back in, and that's exactly what it is. It just really knows how to like pull you in. And I say this, like, sometimes, like, my husband, he'll pop in, but he fell in love with the show. Like, he may not admit it, but whenever I would start watching, he's just right there on the couch with me. And I think I rewatched the series. That was my second time last summer when I rewatched it, and it still just honestly gave me all the feels. I love all the characters. I love the drama. It's a perfect show for everyone. Even though they package it as a teen series, I feel like it's way more than that.
Oh, I think so too. And I think that they realized it maybe midway through, and it had to be part of the push for ABC Family, which it was originally on, to rebrand to Freeform, because it was so clearly not a teen show anymore, if at all, even though it features and centers teenagers, that I think they realized that they were like maybe cutting off a big chunk of their audience by saying it was on a family network.
And that's a good point with you bringing up, ABC Family to Freeform. Like, that makes a lot of sense why they changed, with that. And then when it came to like their other series, remember that a couple of years ago they had, I couldn't really get into that one. It was
Same.
okay, yeah, but it wasn't the same for me. Like it was great having seen Allison again, love her, and it was great. Like she lived in a whole new town. She's, at the school, and it's just, she's a part of the staff. And then you don't need to know all that. Point is,
No, you do. We all do. You're
it
right on track.
it just wasn't hitting for me. Like, and I was excited about it because this is great because we got to see, the main, four girls, their journey without Allison for a couple of seasons. So it was great just to see her. But again, there was just something that wasn't connecting for me, you know?
I felt the same way. I tried it. I probably watched it for not that long, honestly. I bet I
Mhm.
watched maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and I just felt exactly the same way.
Yeah,
There just wasn't something clicking.
right,
And I think sometimes it's possible that it can be sort of an intangible
right.
because Allison and Mona were sort of ushering in a new group in that,
Yeah.
and there just was something that I didn't super
Mhm.
connect to in that group. And if we were just with Allison and Mona the whole time,
Yeah.
like I would have been perfectly happy and I probably would have watched the whole show.
Mhm.
But I'm sure there are people who were nuts about it and super bummed when it didn't get
Right.
picked back up. So it's all individual. Did you watch Ravenswood, that spinoff?
I tried that one and it was okay, but once again, it just there was something not, and it seems like, from the synopsis on paper, okay, this is going to be great, but
Yep.
it didn't do it for me. And that one was canceled right away as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that they just could tell that it wasn't really happening and moved
Yeah.
away from it. But it did yield such a bonkers part of the original Pretty Little Liars. Is it not nuts? And we did on Guide to Unknown an episode where I recapped, I wouldn't say the entire series, obviously, but pretty much like every main A. And I talked about the fact that there is an extremely brief supernatural angle to Pretty Little Liars that is like entirely Ravenswood
Mhm.
induced because they wanted to spin like to get the spin-off in there. And so I'll always be grateful to it for bringing us Mrs. Grunwald in the original
Yeah.
PLL.
Yeah, that was great. You know what? She was a very interesting character. So it was cool to see her again. And see, you're just mentioning things. Even with the other one, when you mentioned Mo, I forgot about her. I forgot that she was in that one.
I can understand why, because honestly, why would these, why would any of these girls, Allison included, ever trust Mona again? Just
Like,
repeatedly showing you who she is.
literally, like the first season, before she got a little wonky, I really liked Mona. She's
Yeah.
fashionable, sassy. But then, like, when you found that out, who's going to trust you? Why don't you just go to another school? Like, that's what I would have did. Just be homeschooled, like, why?
You are unbelievably right. I believe scenarios happen in real life where somebody just like feels tormented for whatever reason by their circumstance in school and they just move schools. They realize it's not working. Why does Mona just keep coming back?
He lived for the drama.
She loved it. And honestly, so did I. So God bless.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. She lived for the drama, and so did I. So
It's
remember when
amazing.
she was dating Arya's brother, and
And she extracted a ton of her own blood. That came up when I was telling Will about the show, and I sort of like breezed by it. I was like, so her room covered in blood, and Mona's missing. Everybody thinks she's gone, and then she's alive. And I just started to steamroll past that. And he was like, but what was all the blood? I was like, oh, she extracted that herself. It was just her. And he's like, okay, all right. I don't know what's going
Will, I know, Will, I know. Like,
I know, and yet we're fully on board. I was like, of course she did. This makes absolute sense in the logic that we have decided to all buy into in Pretty Little Liars world. It's fine.
it is, and it's like but that's what made it interesting. One day
Yeah,
you love someone, the next day you don't. Remember with Ezra, he was cool, but then it's just like he was shady and dark, and going, oh, nice try, Spencer. I'm like, wait, what is happening?
absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. First of all, that happened. I actually loved it. I remember in real time being like, "Oh my god, I'm loving this." And it is so crazy that he somehow boomeranged back to being Arya's husband. And we all were just like, yes, look, they've been meant to be. And the
Yeah.
reality is that he completely knew she was 16 and like just complete was just being a spy, basically.
Literally, like he's a big fat liar, you know?
Yes. He's a
Look at
pretty big liar, if you ask
mhm,
me.
literally, it's like he lied about everything. And it was just like I remember when Arya found out, like honestly, I felt like I know it sounds cheesy, but it's giving me chills because like you said, the whole time he knew that she was 16. He wasn't even surprised in class, the first day of class. Like,
Right, he acts like he is, and he's I know, and he I mean, realistically, the writers just hadn't thought of that yet, but
that's
we
true.
forget that and look back and you're like, "What? A
Yeah.
sociopath pulling all this sort of stuff off." And Arya's cry face when it happened, the
Uh,
stuff of legend.
yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. Lucy Hale. Love her. So she
Me
so
too.
wonderful. Oh, such a great
She's
actress.
so she really is. I feel like they all pulled you in like crazy. I was so invested in that show. Then, like you, when I rewatched it around the same time as you, I was like equally as invested because I'd
Mhm.
forgotten most of what happened.
Right.
And I was so in it all over again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly this is a show and a franchise that we both have a lot of feelings about. We're like super into it.
Mhm.
So, when you heard that there was going to be this reboot, I guess you would say, were
Mhm.
you instantly pumped or did you have any like trepidation about it or anything?
No, I was already pumped. Don't
Me
care. I
too.
know
Me too.
a lot
Don't
of
care.
people, oh, it hasn't been 10 years. Who cares? I'm gonna watch it. you
Not
know?
my problem. Right. Just give it to me. I know I have a weird like blind allegiance to Pretty Little Liars where I'm just like, yeah, well, I guess not quite blind because I like you didn't get into the spinoffs. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, yep, serve it to me now. I'm ready.
And plus, we'll get into the cast, but I really love Bailey Madison. So
Yeah.
of course, I'm gonna watch whatever she's in. And then on top of that, they added in an element that totally meant to be because even with the original Pretty Little Liars, when you think about it, that was still pretty some spooky stuff going on.
Oh
But for
yeah.
some reason, yeah, for some reason, the girls always looked perfect, perfect hair and makeup. Like, how do you guys have time? And I think we were talking about that. How did you have time to do your makeup when they just found a pig in a trunk? I would be
Big in the trunk. Ah!
yes, showing
You're
up with one shoe on, like
yes, you Aria, you had time to put in your fork earrings or whatever. Like, I know we all have to prioritize self-care, but maybe self-preservation would normally take a front seat in that scenario.
how do you have time to think of and Spencer with her cardigans and button
Oh,
down, like
all that Argyle.
she has time to button,
It's a button.
oh my, just no, just forget it. I would just start, and it's just gonna be open. Like who has
Yeah.
time?
And we're all just going to deal with it. And it is so funny that you said that. I also totally noticed that they don't make a big deal of it. They don't mention it.
Mhm.
But in the reboot, you're so right. Like from the first episode, they have frizzy hair sometimes. Like they don't look super perfect. There was a scene where they were all hanging out on a swing set and talking about something. And they were with, I believe, the character Kelly, who has like long blonde hair. And it was like, super puffy and frizzy and imperfect looking. And I was like, you don't really see that much anymore in modern TV or modern movies. Like even some horror movies, if you look back, like in Scream 2, Nev Campbell has a zit on her chin for like half of it. And you wouldn't see that anymore. It's not like I noticed it and I was like, ew. I was like,
Right.
oh, like they used to allow imperfections to just exist on screen without sort of getting rid of all of them. And
Right.
it was really refreshing to see things that people might call imperfections
Mhm.
show up on screen without it being fanfare, without it being a plot line
Right.
in the original Sin show. I thought it was kind of awesome.
I am right there with you. And then even when we get more into the backstory, but their families aren't perfect, their relationships aren't perfect, their friendship is clearly not perfect, which we'll talk about, with that. And them as a whole, like I feel like the characters have layers.
Mhm.
And I felt that way with the original Pretty Little Liars, but sometimes like the minor characters, not so much. But with the minor characters in Original Sin, they still have those layers,
Yep.
which was it threw me through a loop, because you think one thing, but then and you know what I'm talking about. So
Uh-huh.
just I don't know, and then just the fact too that we both love horror,
Yep.
love slashers.
Love it, love it.
They're giving it to us. I honestly, it's like, I'm not gonna lie, when I finished the series, or while I was watching the series, actually, I would always have a good time while watching it. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And you know what it is? It's because I'm conditioned sometimes to be, when I'm watching a show, to yell at the screen and do, no, I wasn't doing that at all.
Mhm.
But it was just like, because what they were doing make made sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There was nothing like, of course, there's some stuff that is kind of like, you look at it, it's just okay, just be a nice human. But
sure.
other than that, it wasn't anything that's just like, why didn't you go the opposite? You know what I mean? It's just
Yep.
story writing. And I love how they, again, just even how the cast meshed together.
Yeah, and it felt pretty natural. And it reminded me that even in the original Pretty Little Liars, like when we meet them, they had been really good friends, but they haven't hung out for like a year and they
Right.
have to kind of like relearn each other and become a group again.
Mhm.
And that's definitely the case in this one. Not that they were all close and they separated, but they're kind of coming from like disparate parts of the social ecosystem in high school and
Yes.
getting to know each other and then getting super tight. And
Mhm.
I feel like they really bring you through that. And it ends up making sense. Like even early on, a couple of them want to turn on a couple of the other members of the group. And
Yes.
that's what would happen, I think. It's not like they are like
That's
best friends to the
yeah.
end, like from the jump.
Mhm.
They end up earning that. And it
Exactly.
felt supernatural.
I was going to mention that as well. Like, I love, because I mean, we're not really friends. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So it makes a lot of sense, and it's your first time really, vibing with people sometimes. And it's either, them or you. Come on.
Totally.
You got to think. And then even when I think back on Pretty Little Liars, the only person at first, I think maybe for the first two episodes until, okay, well, obviously, spoiler, with the original Pretty Little Liars, like at this point,
I
Emily,
know. Yeah.
yeah, Emily. At first, Emily to me didn't really fit because she seems very reserved.
Mhm.
But then when you find out her backstory and how she really feels, okay, you understand why she is that way. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
not obviously that's not her personality. And then just to see the transformation that she had over the years, like she was no longer meek. She was a very strong woman.
Mhm.
Love that. So then even with these girls, they all are different, but no one's trying to change. No one's trying to, you see that sometimes in friendships, even with another friendship that's on the show, those friends seem like they kind of were more of followers and not
Mhm.
actually, yes. So there's a difference with that.
Yeah, there for sure is. So let's just in case anybody doesn't know what the deal with Original Sin is, just like talk about the overall premise, and then we'll get into spoilers so we can go to town.
Okay.
So the thing with Original Sin is that it's basically set in the same universe as Pretty Little Liars. It's not the same
Mhm.
it's not the same characters, although there are little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But it takes place in a town not super far from the town that the original took place in. And it's a group of friends who start to be terrorized by somebody going by A, and it becomes pretty immediately clear that each of their mothers, who were all friends in high school, are tied into this in some way, and that this A might be getting revenge against the moms by
Mhm.
going through the girls. And so they have to contend with all these threats and
Mhm.
at the same time try to find out what the moms are hiding from them and also who A is so that they can stop them. And it is, as Zena said, super, super horror and slasher tinged. Like, I feel like they knew the audience that they were going to try to appeal to and
Mhm.
then went hard at it instead of just kind of beating around the bush. So there are horror references galore in it.
Oh,
And it's super fun. Like even the
yeah.
font, because they'll do kind of chyrons that'll say the day or whatever. The
Mhm.
font is like a very like John Carpenter. Is the font from Halloween? Now I'm blanking actually.
I always thought that it was, but it's like it depends on which one. The text that would pop up, like if it's like Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
Halloween, that looked very much Halloween. But then the one for Original Sin, like that pops up for the show, it's like a mixture of letters.
Yeah, right. But so they're even referencing stuff just like in text,
Yeah.
which, doesn't come up a ton, but it's a fun little Easter egg for somebody who's a horror fan watching this and being like, oh, I recognize that. And characters will kind of harken back to famous horror characters. Even names of characters will
Yeah.
be callbacks. Like there's like a Father Karras and there's Father Karras in The Exorcist. Like they definitely absolutely know who they're playing to, and they also know the genre without a doubt to
Yeah.
be able to put so many deep cuts in it. So it has a really really fun vibe to it. Do you have anything else to say about before we move to spoilers?
I was just gonna also just mention, bouncing off of the horror stuff. You see so many horror posters, like ones I desire deeply, and that's why I was actually like, tweeting about that. Like, where do you guys get your posters from? I need to know.
Yeah, Tabby's room is no
Oh,
joke.
Tabby is me. I love
Hmm.
her so much.
Yep.
I mean, she's honestly probably like the coolest girl at the school. Why she's popular in my mind. So
I know. With the more adult grown-up version of looking back, like that's the cool girl. Are you kidding
literally,
me?
like,
Yeah. She's
wow.
like horror obsessed. She's definitely inspired, I think, by Randy from Scream with like dropping tons of horror and movie references just conversationally, because that's basically how she views the world.
Yeah.
And she rules.
She does. And then also too with the name. So, Wes that works at the movie theater.
Yep.
Wasn't there, I don't remember if his name was it Joseph England? They were gonna go talk to someone. His last name was somebody's last name was England. And I was like,
I think it is. I think you're
okay.
right.
So yeah, like you said, you said it all, but with the little Easter eggs, it just kind of kept you entertained. And literally, like usually when I'm watching a show or a movie and I'm like, oh wow, what are you doing? But it's like, no, I was quiet, like like really just like taking it in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're saying quiet contemplation because it's really fun when they've established that there are going to be Easter eggs so regularly,
Mhm.
then it made me, and it sounds like you want to find them.
Yeah.
So it becomes less of a show. Not that I really do this that much anyway, but less of a show that you would sort of be paying half attention to, and
Mhm.
something that you're excited to see what little thing they're going to drop on you. And so you have to pay attention in order to catch them all.
That's
Ugh.
see, and it's just, and then okay, I know we didn't even like scratch the surface, but I'm already planning when I want to rewatch the series. Like I wanted to do it so bad after I finished, like earlier today.
Hmm.
I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait, let it simmer in, and then I'm gonna go because it's definitely one of those shows where I can see myself putting it on,
Hmm.
relax, putting it on again, like kind of what I did with the first one, just to have
Yep.
a nice time.
Oh, totally. And like there's something comforting about knowing what's coming. It's obviously so much fun and we're both hooked on it as horror lovers, as
Mhm.
wanting to know what's coming and not being sure and being off guard. But it's
Right.
also like very soothing to rewatch something, and especially something horror based, because you still get like the cool creepy tingle of it,
Uh,
but you also know what's going on. So
mhm.
it's kind of perfect. I feel like I know it won't be that far away from now. So it's not like we'll forget what happened. But I feel like this could be a fun Halloween rewatch because it takes place like around Halloween. There's a big Halloween party. And obviously, slasher vibes are very Halloweeny. But like just watching them have their Halloween party when Halloween is coming up soon, I feel like we'll feel great.
Right. And it's just like, and that's what I'm saying. It's even though it's like we actually went through a couple of seasons, with them, but that it screams Halloween. And I mean, I'm happy that the show that the series came out when it did, but
Mhm.
man, like maybe I'll rewatch it in October because
Yeah.
it was definitely like it just oh my god, like I don't feel like I'm doing it justice by by saying how good it is. I just think that people need, I know we didn't even get through it, but people just need
We
to
will.
experience it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, based on us gushing, I bet a lot of people will because it's just a really fun watch. And it also does have things to say. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching it as a 38-year-old woman, but I was thinking about watching it as a teenager or maybe a little bit older.
Mhm.
And I feel like it could be really encouraging in some important ways to somebody who's still in like a formative time of life.
Right.
And I'm glad that it's out there. It almost like sneaks it in because it's fun and slashery, but
Mhm.
then it says some important stuff, which I like.
Right. And it's like, so one of my nephews, he actually just, well, he's turning 18 next month. And he likes these kind of series as well. And I'm like, okay, you need to watch this now,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm interested to know how he feels because with him being like a younger person, I want to know
Yeah.
how he feels about it. But from like you said on social media, from what I see, everyone is raving about this show, how good it is. Even if you're not into like horror where you may not know the little Easter eggs, you cannot deny the entertainment. And then
Yes.
the fact, just the storytelling and where like, I did not see certain things coming, and that's what I
No.
like. Yeah.
Me too. It has a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is extremely high. That's awesome. And I know that there's like a lot of turmoil with HBO Max, which is the network that it's on right now.
Yeah.
But I hope that they see the fan reaction to it and either greenlight a second season, which hasn't been announced yet, and or make more shows like this, like make more fun slashery shows that
Yeah.
also have some substance to them. I mean, it's great. I just want like a million shows like this.
Literally. And okay, no one can see me, but you can.
Yes,
Just being, honest. Were you a fan of like the old like Gossip Girl? You ever watch that series?
this is a blind spot for me. No, I didn't watch Gossip Girl, and I didn't watch the reboot either. What'd you think of it?
So I used to live for Gossip Girl so much, especially like the first season to me was everything. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell off because at this
Hmm.
point, who is this mysterious Gossip Girl?
Right.
And there wasn't anything It was just the same old rich people trying to do terrible things. And it's just, why don't you
Right.
go on a vacation to Bora Bora? Because you can afford it.
What a waste of resources.
Yeah, just go shopping. Just get out of here. But anyway, but the show, it has, for me, it was kind of mixed. Like there were some seasons where I was like, yeah, this is great. This Gossip Girl has no type of horror in it at all. It's
Yeah.
just straight drama. So I remember when they first announced that they were going to have like a reboot of it, because technically it has been 10 years for Gossip Girl. And to be
Hmm.
honest with you, I think that that would be great. And like I was excited about it because with technology, with social media, it makes a lot of sense because you never know, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
cool. So I was excited about it. I remember watching the first episode, and sometimes you want to give some shows some chances,
Yeah.
more than a chance because it takes some time. I watched the entire like series, and I kind of felt, I didn't feel
Eh.
like, oh, gotta, like I like the characters, but one of the reasons why I really did love, there's a point to this, I promise, that has to do with Original Sin.
I don't care. I can hear you just talk about Gossip Girl for a long time.
But one of the reasons why I really liked Gossip Girl, honestly, was because of the fashion. And so, meaning these were like these rich, spoiled kids who lived on the Upper East Side of New York, Manhattan, very, very high, like high. One girl's mom owns like one of the highest brands and like the fashion brands. So
Hmm.
I'm thinking, like, okay, obviously their fashion back then, I'm not saying now, back
I
then,
know.
those headbands, we should bring those back. But
Your headbands galore, extremely long tank tops pulled down like over your jeans. Yeah.
but yeah, they used to a lot of great looking pieces where for me, okay, sometimes If the show isn't always hitting, like if it's like terrible characters, but you have something fabulous to look at because look at her outfit. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
right? And then on top of that, they were given drama. They were given a lot of drama, and I couldn't get enough of it, you know. So my Monday nights, because that's what day it used to come on, it was everything. I never dreaded Mondays while that show was on.
Yeah.
Then with this show, I'm thinking, like I said, it didn't really hit for me. And then also, like, you know, there's so many like high fashion brands, and it just wasn't working. Like one of the girls, she is a influencer. I'm like, all right, cool.
Mhm.
So we should see her. But yeah, those outfits for me were not hitting. But then I
Right.
realized, okay, I'm 35. So these the people who are watching this, they're probably like, yeah, this is great. So I was like, okay, sometimes you're just not that audience, right?
Right.
But with this show, sometimes the outfits that the girls will wear, sometimes it was cute, but sometimes it's just like, why are you layering a tank top with that? Okay, whatever, right? But point is, it didn't really matter because the
No.
show is giving so much of everything else. And
Yep.
that's what I mean. Like, there's been times when I would hate watch a show, and I looking back on it, like not the besides the first season of Gossip Girl, the old one. After that, I remember hate watching. It wasn't like something I really enjoyed. It was just something that I needed to get through because you want to blow off some steam.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but with this show, I never felt that way because again, it gave us a great like storyline. There was
Mhm.
mystery. The characters had layers, and they weren't just like, you know, they had so much more to offer. You know, even the ones
Yes.
you think that did it, you know, and you find out why certain people behave the way that they do. And it was just great. Like, I mean, I guess I'm not trying to like put down like Gossip Girl like that, but it was just like
Of course.
I was excited about it, but it didn't really do it for me. So then even with this show when they announced it, I knew I was going to watch it anyway, and
Right.
I wanted to like give myself like 10 episodes. I was going to watch the entire season, and I'm just so happy to say like it was worth it. It's just amazing, like seriously.
Yeah, it's worth the watch. Like if you're on the fence, it's totally worth the watch.
Mhm.
And I hear what you're saying. Like sometimes it's just not like you're just not the audience for it and you can
Right.
still see the value in it or whatever. What do you think like because I've been thinking about like even as I've gotten older, I still super enjoy a lot of like it's always teen mystery shows. I guess I haven't really
Mhm.
watched a lot of just teen general things, although I bet I would get into them too. I think for me, the reason that I gravitate toward like even YA horror books or mystery books and TV shows
Mhm.
is exactly what you were saying about Gossip Girl. Like they bring the drama in
Mhm.
a more fun way than not everything for adults, obviously, but a more fun way than a lot of things for adults because I think that sometimes adult focused horror or mysteries
Mhm.
sort of want to explore and it's admirable too, it's just not something I'm always in the mood for. They
Right.
kind of want to explore like the dark underbelly or the
Mhm.
trauma of something or get really really procedural and they just become heavy in a
Yeah.
way that stuff that's marketed for young adults doesn't really get and it
Right.
feels a little bit more fun and like a breath of fresh. And there's a place for both. But
Mhm.
yeah, I've been kind of surprised that I still want to watch things involving a 16-year-old, but there's just like a different vibe there. What do you think?
Oh my, see, I feel like you explained it perfectly because I'm not gonna lie, you know, because my husband, he likes to watch very serious shows. And then even with
Yeah.
my sisters and even some close friends, they like to watch like serious shows, or if it's not like reality show, which I'll watch that stuff too. But you said
Yeah.
perfectly that sometimes it's a little bit heavy, you know.
Mhm.
Like, don't get me wrong, this one has real life problems, but the way they deliver it is
Yeah.
different, you know, and it's you can take it all in. This is like completely different type of show. I was trying to watch new things, and
Mhm.
I started watching this show called P Valley. On it comes on Amazon,
I
and
haven't I know what it is, but I haven't watched it.
I mean it's a great show, but it is heavy, like
Yeah.
very heavy. And it was just like I just binge watched the first season, like almost like 2 months ago, and I know the second season started, but I still need a break. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like,
Yes.
if this show came out and they said, "Oh, we're gonna have a new season tomorrow," I'm going to binge it. You know,
Oh,
no.
easy.
So I
Mhm.
think that you explained it like perfectly. And even though it's like we're not like the target audience, there's just something about it. And I think that it's that, I don't want to say lightheartedness because it'll just be as just as brutal, just as in some ways, it'll have like that drama, but I guess it's the way they deliver it. Because I
Yep.
even feel that way with movies, like, it could be horror, it could be comedy, but I find myself attracted to those type of movies as well. Even though I mean, no, I don't have to study for the SATs and I'm not going to prom. I'd love to though. I want to go to prom again. But
Maybe you should hold like a prom party. Maybe
right?
your next birthday needs to be prom
Yeah, I
themed.
think so. I want to go again. I had a great time at my prom. The only thing is the little rabbit hole. I
Please.
remember I wasn't really into that kind of stuff, and my mom was so excited. She took me and my sister, and I was taking my sister because I had like a secret boyfriend I didn't want my parents to know about, so I took my
Mhm.
sister instead. And she's more fun anyway, so that's why.
I
And
bet you, like, look back and you're like, "I had so much more fun with my little sister than I would have had." Yeah.
yeah, my big sister. Yeah,
Our big
she's
sister.
the best. We anyway, we picked out dresses. Her dress looked better than mine. And I'm just like, wait a minute, why did I pick that dress? It was my prom. So if I could go back to prom, I would have picked out a better dress. I really didn't invest, Kristen, and it's still hot
Mhm.
to me. So
We all have those things. I had a prom look that haunts me that was tough, 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 and I would not mind redoing it a little bit better, so I hear you.
see, we could go to prom together. We could
I
go.
know. All right, the Zena and Kristen prom is coming. I don't see why not.
We need to relive it. Okay, we want to. That's all I want. Nothing else. I don't
That's
want
all.
to relive anything else from high school.
Yeah, no, big pass. We're simple gals. All we wanna do is relive our prom. Just let us.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Let's talk spoilers. So I'm going to count it down. Everybody, if you haven't seen the show yet and you want to go in spoiler free, then I would exit now and come back after you've seen it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, we're spoiling. All right. So, what did you call as far as like who bad guys were and what were you taken aback by?
Okay, so two, the principal. I
Mhm.
knew in some ways he was involved because with him and the Sheriff Beasley, they seemed close. So,
Yeah,
he would have to know. And plus, it's a small town. So guaranteed there has to be someone there that went to school there as well. You know what I mean? And I'm so surprised
totally.
that, I mean, nothing was pointing to do that, but because I know they were trying to find out the history of it. I'm thinking, wouldn't you check the yearbook? Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, like earlier on.
Yeah, like the year that your moms that they were there, like check 4 years, and there's enough for everybody. Just look who's there. You never know. You
Yep.
know, okay, fine. And then the other thing, so okay, I really like Chip,
Mhm.
but there was something about him, you
Yeah,
know, like, don't get me wrong. I just thought that I was thinking like with Tabby, like, oh, Tabby, why don't you like the first or second episode? Because he seemed cool. He seemed like he was into her. He wanted to be more than a friend.
yep.
But then especially when this was more of going like later into the episodes when he wanted to work with Imogen. And I was
Mhm.
just saying, like, gosh, imagine he was the father. And then I was like,
Right.
and you know what I mean? And I just thought that we would have never found out. I didn't think that we were going to actually see her give birth, you know,
No,
season. So
no.
that was a surprise. And then honestly, okay, with the twins, Karen and Kelly, I thought like that it was going to be a trick and like, oh, she's really alive. You know what I mean?
Me too. And I
Yeah,
was here for it. I like the ridiculousness of the twin
yeah,
tropes.
me too.
And it's just fun. I know it was done repeatedly in the nuttiest way in the original. So I was into it. And I thought that she was either going to pop up and still be alive or that Kelly was actually Karen.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And then
Hmm.
and it kind of reminded me of Riverdale, the first season before they went to space or wherever they are now.
I know. I fell off. I guess you don't watch it anymore either.
No, I got it drained me.
drained is a good word for it. Like, I hung on for a good while. I hung on through there being a universal tear or something like that. And then when Lucifer rolled into town, the devil, El Diablo, and like Veronica owns, a casino, I was like, you know what? And just, I
Right.
didn't make the decision, but the decision was made for me, and I just haven't watched it since.
And that's what and then it's just, and okay, we have to go down a quick rabbit hole. The thing that really bothers me about Riverdale, the show had the potential. And
Yes.
back, I know everybody's saying that Tyra Banks is toxic back in the early 2000s, but to quote her, we were all rooting for you. And that's how I feel. We were all rooting for you because I was literally living for the first season. The first season had mystery,
It
drama,
was great.
everything was wonderful. And then the second season, it was kind of like, And the
Yeah.
third season, I'm like, what is happening? So
I know. To also quote Tyra Banks, who was scared. I was scared. it, it got so nuts. Especially Archie's storylines started sucking so hard. I don't need to watch this man play football. I don't need to watch this man box. I don't need to watch this man form a vigilante group. The worst, but he's like the centerpiece of the show. So I literally started fast forwarding his scenes,
I
and
don't
I missed nothing.
No,
You
I
know?
didn't get it. And he would always have his shirt off. He was always
Yes,
sweaty.
we
And
get it.
like we see you.
Yeah.
But then the thing that made me like say, you know what, like that meme of SpongeBob getting up, like, all right, I'm gonna,
Yep. Done.
was he gave some kind of speech before playing football when he was in juvie or jail. I don't know. And it
Mhm.
was the longest speech about, supposed to be like, empowering, but I was just sitting there like, what is he talking about? Like, if I was there, I would loudly say, what is he talking about? Yeah, like,
What are we watching?
I'm sorry. I brought up Riverdale because in the first season with, Cheryl and Jason, I thought that they were going to try to do something like that, but
Yeah.
they took it a step further. And, one of the sisters sadly did die.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it seems pretty cut and dry now. Like they sort of teased one of the main characters was thinking that the twin who was living
Mhm.
maybe was Karen, the twin who died, and there was a swap. It seems pretty cut and dry now that's not the case.
Mhm.
Do you think that they're telegraphing that it's just straight up Kelly, or do they who is the twin who's living and there's just no nefarious thing? Or do you think we're supposed to still think that there's any chance? Like she is making out with her dead sister's boyfriend,
Yeah.
like in one of the last episodes, and says, "Call me Karen." Is that supposed to just be that she's just, she's got some issues? Or are we still supposed to think that there's a possibility that she's Karen?
So at first I thought that we were supposed to think that she was Karen.
Yeah.
Then with seeing her life at home, there's a lot of issues that's going on. And so it's just kind of like, okay, she's just a young girl that's dealing with a lot of things. And then she lost ultimately her best friend.
Right. I think so too. I was just curious what you thought because they tie up, which I actually loved and appreciated. They tie up the main mystery, but they do leave a couple of dangling things.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if that was something that's still meant to dangle or not, but I don't really think so either. I just wanted to see what you thought about it.
That would be cool if she
I would
was.
still take it.
I mean, I live for that drama,
Me
that,
too.
but just I think her home life kind of just made me so sad. Like her father is literally the worst human being,
The worst.
and so it's just like day in, day out, obviously it was one thing because at least she had her sister.
Right.
You know what I mean? Her sister clearly had a certain way of thinking, like she was the most popular queen bee, at Millwood High. So clearly, she had plans to most likely get out of that town, most likely just take her sister. but unfortunately it didn't work out, so now it's just
Mhm.
her, and she has to deal with the backlash of, from her, the backlash and the violence from her father, which they probably always had to deal with, but there was two of them and he wasn't
Right.
as angry, now, I just, it's unbelievable that they would still want him to work on the case,
Yeah,
you
for
know
sure.
um,
Yep.
it seemed like, I believed it though, because it's a small town, you know what I mean?
Right, like, it's not like they have a gigantic force
Right.
to fall back on if they take the sheriff out of it.
And he was clearly like the town bully, so nobody really wanted to deal with that, just let him deal with his anger, is how I
Mhm.
took that, so it was still believable.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as, like, the main bad guy, so it ends up being that A, who is this, like, figure who kind of stalks them and wears, like a skin. I would like to know what's up with the
Oh
mask.
yeah, oh my god, that mask is everything.
The mask is like stitched together flesh with not when I say eye holes, it's not like holes big enough for your eyes. It's really basically like somebody just like made like a football and stabbed a bunch of like holes in it that are just like lines. And so A can clearly just sort of like peek out of them and breathe that way. And then like a wig attached to it on top. That turns out to be the brother of this girl Angela, who the main character's mom's bullied like
Yeah.
horrendously,
Whoa.
bad in high school,
Mhm.
and he was. I mean, in the grand tradition of PLL, kind of a secret brother.
Yeah.
He was kept home because they don't elaborate on it, but his dad says that his mom said that he had a face only a mother could love,
Mhm.
and so they kept him at home and he slept in like a cage with hay.
Yeah.
Really, really horrible. And the dad of both this guy, whose name is Archie,
Mhm.
and Angela, the girl who was bullied, is basically the mastermind and sort of essentially like sicked his son on all of these girls and women to
Yeah.
get them to pay. And I thought the principal was probably involved in some
Mhm.
way, or if I'm being completely honest, I think I leaned hard toward thinking that he was a red herring because I was pretty bought into the theory that the nurse was
Mm.
A.
Wasn't she on, she was in the first one, was she? Maybe
I
not. One of
I
the
don't
she looked familiar.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe she was, and I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
not sure. But she seemed the right age. She seemed to be the age of the mothers. And it seemed as the season went on that whoever is doing this is probably either the age of the mothers and went to school with them or is connected in
Mhm.
some way. And she seemed about the right age.
Yeah.
And she would have access to do some of the things that A was able to do because like for example, one of the girls had to get drug tested every morning
Mhm.
because she had taken the fall for her mother getting co-
Mom.
mom. Marjorie mom is going to rehab at the end of this, she said. So hopefully if there's a second season, she's doing better because really felt for that family and that poor girl Noah.
That was horrible. Like, especially like when you found out, it was just like, oh my gosh. And then on top of that, she has like a drug problem, and she
Yep.
has no problem putting it on her daughter. She should have been went to rehab.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She flipped like instantly. Oh, and you know what? I didn't notice it on the show. I saw it online. Did you know that when Noah, her daughter, goes into her bag to see if she has any pills from the hospital, and she does, the name on the pill bottle is Caleb Rivers
Oh my
from
God,
PLL.
no,
So
that's
for some
so horrible.
reason, I know. So he's from the original show. He's Hannah's
Yeah.
boyfriend. So
Oh,
for some reason, he ended up in the Millwood Hospital and had to get some painkillers for for whatever reason. And the mom stole them. But it was just another fun, like little crossovery sort of thing.
love that so much. And
Yeah.
with you mentioning like a red herring, I think for me, I actually thought that that would have been Wes, because
Yes.
it's yeah, he's a little bit older than her, maybe like by 3 years, we'll say
Mhm.
4 years, and that makes sense because if Angela had a baby and say if the baby somehow survived, he
Yep.
wouldn't have been that much older. So that's what
Yes.
I was thinking with that, and so I was waiting for it to happen, but then I realized, okay, no, he's probably just lying, like how he's probably lying about going to Columbia, or NYU or whatever he was saying.
I
You
don't
know?
know about this, Wes. Yeah, I think he probably just wanted to seem like a cool, smart, older guy
Yeah.
to Tabby, but yeah, I don't know
You
about
don't
that.
have to do the Tabby seemed like a cool girl. Just talk to her about movies, and I think you'll be good. You know?
Totally. Yeah, and I know it was interesting that they had him because it'd be really easy to have somebody who is like way older and
Mhm.
make the line much more clear. Like he definitely was too old for her. I think they're supposed to be
Yeah.
like 16 or 17 or something.
Mhm.
But it is kind of that time of life where you, as that age, might be like, oh, we don't have that much of a distance. So it wouldn't
Right.
be a crazy leap to think that Tabby
Mhm.
was into him, even
Yeah.
though it's really not the right move.
At all.
No, 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 no. But that was interesting that they would leave that sort of ambiguity, at least for a minute. There were like a couple of episodes in the beginning where I was like, she seems like she might be kind of into
Mhm.
this, as opposed to
Right.
just having him like, older, where you're like, absolutely not clear line. She wouldn't be into it. He's just a straight up creep pursuing her. Like,
Right.
they didn't really mind playing with gray area stuff in
Mhm.
the show. And I kind of appreciated that. And I think that that might be one of those like differences between having the show on just a regular cable network and having it on HBO. Like
Yeah.
maybe you can play with things a little bit more and be slightly, although the show definitely has like an eye toward morality and doing things the right way, you can at least play with that a little bit more on a network that's more adult, even if it's like a teen show.
Exactly. And I love that you mentioned that. Like, I do not clearly approve of West
No,
going
no, no.
Tabby. It's a you see it now as an adult. There's a major age difference. Like, you guys are in two different worlds, like
Yeah.
light years.
Yeah.
But when you're that age, you think, it's not, he's not that much older or she's not that much young. Well, I don't know who would think that.
No, but I think probably like the younger person looking up is like, I know that I'm mature. I know that I'm whatever.
Right. And so that's how I saw that. And then it seemed like they had the movie, thing in common. But then that's what made me even go where she's okay. I wonder why she doesn't like Chip. I know it's like, oh, he's a friend, but it's just like he
Hmm.
likes movies too. And then even when they were doing that project together, he seemed very much remorseful for switching up her project. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, there was just something not, clicking there.
There's something not right about Chip.
Mm,
Um, but oh, Chip. But no, I thought the same thing. I was like, this is a nice guy. I think I probably thought that they would get together in the
mhm.
end. Like she'd be just kind of friend zoning him for most of the show and then come to realize that he's a good dude. So I was super surprised, like you were, when he started like being into Imogen. It
Yeah,
seems so out of left field.
yeah.
But then when you find out that he assaulted them both, and so he's just
Right.
like crazy. I will say I thought that was it ended up being accurate.
Mhm.
It was a weird leap to assume it was the same person who
Yeah.
had assaulted them both. They just sort of like decided it and then it was the fact.
Mhm.
And it did end up being true. But like I thought it was strange that there was no evidence at all to suggest that, except that it had both happened to them.
And then
Um,
checked out his room and his rapey things and
ugh. As soon as what the hell movie was, oh, I spit on your grave. Yeah. I was like, uh-oh.
with the mom, like with his parents, and it's just like I know, they probably think, oh, she's born, but okay, no, all right.
Mhm.
Do you see what he's watching? Are you not watching?
Yes.
He's still a teenager. Like, you still at least monitor. And it wasn't like he was watching like digital copies where there's actually no
No.
physical thing. No, it's like he had a whole collection.
Yeah, it's like an apple crate full of like rape centric horror
Oh
movies in
my
his
god.
closet. Ay, ay, ay.
Not even deep in his closet. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
No, they
um,
had to move like a flannel shirt, and then the whole kit and caboodle was available. Maybe we can give the mom a real generous read and be like, she doesn't know what the hell that is. She could just think that they're weird horror movies, but
But, come on, they see, and
come
they're
on.
in his closet though. Like it's not because his room though. He had a nice. I love his posters, but
They have a
he's
nice room.
hiding those in his closet. Like, come on. Like I'm
Yeah.
not saying like you know, oh, because some people would probably try to argue like, oh, well, she can't stop him. What? You know what I mean? Like, and then on top of that, too, jumping ahead, the fact that his parents are, trying to find him a lawyer, he did what he did. Like, I understand that
Yup.
his son take accountability. He did what he did to not only but one girl, but two. And he was
And then
still living life.
living life and inserting himself into their lives. Like he
Yeah,
may have already been, I guess he was already good friends with Tabby, which it's horrible either way, but definitely adds a layer of twistedness to it. But then to deliberately like ask Imogen to be his like partner in class and stuff,
yeah.
like this guy's a real sicko.
Right?
And it seems like A probably took care of him right at the end though.
God, that was very satisfying.
It was. There so much had happened since we had seen him that I wasn't really thinking about Chip at the moment, but when he showed up there, I was like, get this guy. He doesn't need to be here on the
He
planet.
wants to drink hot cocoa, wear his Christmas sweater, and enjoy the holidays with his family. They were able to bail him out. No. And honestly,
Mm-mm.
maybe it's for the best. Like at this point,
Yes,
because it's
I
his
think
parents
so.
would fight and you like, no, and lawyers. And now it's just like, well, he was
Mhm.
taken care of.
Yeah, that's the end of that.
Well,
Speaking of like gray area stuff and things that I thought were kind of like a bold move that you don't necessarily see a ton, I
mhm,
feel like the show didn't really hedge its bets when it came to even people who are sort of our protagonists doing horrible things and then trying to redeem themselves in some way. So like
right.
first of all, even though the girl Karen, who's one of the twins that we were talking about who died, was a complete asshole. She was like a total bully and like really mean.
Super horrible.
She was a nightmare. And if you're listening to the spoiler part without watching the show, the way that she died was that she was in the like upper rafters of, I guess, like the auditorium about to dump a thing of, I think it was just paint, right? Not pig's
Yeah,
blood, but like, a clear like Carrie sort of
yeah.
homage.
A lot of
Um,
scary homages.
Oh, big time. Yeah, her mom
Oh,
even. Yeah. Um, but so like she was gonna dump paint on Imogen, who's like this pregnant 16-year-old who won whatever, Miss Millwood High. I can't remember what it was. And then A pops up in the rafters and kills her. So she's been doing bad left and right. And before she dies, our main characters put together this little mini movie montage. And this what I'm saying, this is terrible. And I think it's interesting that they went this hard with it
yeah.
and then sort of discussed it. They put together this film that they screen at the movie theater that Tabby works at of Karen like super duper wasted, like just being really drunk and like loquacious. Have I ever used that word? But loquacious, with the dude. It's just like really super embarrassing and humiliating. And
Crazy.
I think it's terrible. And she like has her shirt off and stuff, I think, with bra on. But they basically like humiliate the hell out of her.
Mhm.
And it's not played like, oh yeah, eye for an eye. Like Karen was shitty to them, so they're shitty to her. Like they pretty immediately see that that was a terrible thing to do and discuss that. And I thought it was interesting because even with the original show, like one of the main inciting incidents is that the liars in that show want to play what was supposed to be a harmless prank on Toby, which is like throwing like a stink bomb in the garage that he's in or something.
Crazy. Yeah.
Super crazy. But then there's like some sort of weird explosion and Jenna, who's another character, gets blinded by it. And it's still even say it's like, what is this?
And the
And
girls,
thank God. Yeah.
they clearly run, and it's just like this loud noise. And I mean, I'm a pretty nosy neighbor. So if I heard something, I would look out the window and I would just see like these five girls. I would tell the police, yeah, it was Allison
Yep.
Spencer. Like I was I
I
saw them,
would narc on them so fast. When I found out that the neighbor girl is blinded, I'd be
right?
like, I saw these.
Yeah, I don't know if this means anything, but I saw all five of them while their moms were out, you know? So
Right,
yeah,
just for your information. But so that, they definitely are like, they have a little bit of like, ooh, the Jenna thing. That was bad of us.
yeah.
But they don't, it's not as horrendous because it was accidentally terrible. This was deliberately terrible in this
Come
show.
come
Horrible, horrible, just like slut shamey and also she was drunk, so
yeah.
it's there's so many layers of awfulness to it. And I thought it was interesting that they showed them being really terrible and then gave them a chance to realize how horrible it was and sort of, if not be completely absolved of it, like they're like we really went too far and they're apologetic and they recognize it. And things like that happen in real life. Like
Yeah.
you do things that you genuinely wish you hadn't done that aren't right. And you have to live with them and hopefully find a way to be better going forward. And I thought it was cool that both the young liars did that. And as we referenced earlier, that their moms did it. Because the moms also, it wasn't just like idle, like not big deal bullying. They were monstrous
Mhm.
to the girl Angela who's at the crux of it. And they're clearly, although they haven't really atoned for it as adults, they're clearly super ashamed of it. And you can imagine that now that they have kind of faced it and talked about it, that they might try to be better going forward.
And that kind of brings up a question for me, but before I dive to that, like, so going back to the thing they did to Karen, it's just, come on, why the whole movie theater? Like, maybe just send it to her parents, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or something
Brutal.
like that, like, and then that's it. Like, come on, because that's horrible. Like, she's gonna have to live with that. And
Yeah.
and she's clearly gonna know that it came from them. Like, but whatever. I was just like, okay, girls. But
Mhm.
then the other thing is too, going back with the moms, when they even mentioned it, they was just talking about how, oh, in the 90s, girls were a lot meaner and stuff like that. I mean, clearly,
Yeah.
um, because what I find so weird too, is that the fact that they seem like they would follow Imogen's mom. Like, she was like their leader, so they would
Yep.
like follow her and everything like that. And it's clearly her mom changed. She changed. She was a completely different person. Like most people, you change.
Yes.
At that, life happens and you change. Well, majority of it.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, but yeah. I've always had this question. Do you think that Imogen's mom, did she? I know they said, or the principal said, that she killed herself. Do you think that she did?
I don't know. It seemed weirdly just like it just solved too fast or something. Like it almost just felt like narratively somewhat unsatisfying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I part of me wonders if that is one of the loose threads that they have sort of left for a potential second season. But
Yeah.
there's another part of me that wonders if she really did kill herself and they meant to leave it as that, as sort of a comment on like the heinousness of the way that she bullied someone
Yeah.
or something, because she was really the ringleader of it.
Yeah.
And like I mean, like unspeakably terrible. So the deal is that the guy who became the sheriff sexually assaulted this girl Angela Waters while he was dating Davy, who is this mom that we're talking about who is supposed to have killed herself. And back in the day when it really happened, Davy just completely didn't believe it when Angela said that it happened and then had everyone, she was the popular girl,
Mhm.
erase her, quote
Yeah.
unquote, and
Yeah.
just pretend that they didn't see or hear her when
Mhm.
she was like walking down the hall in school, whatever, and then had her come to this like rave party and had everybody do the same thing. Like
Yeah.
that's
It is.
unbelievably cruel. It would be cruel
It
without the sexual assault
is.
circumstance, but having it be in reaction to that is
Mhm.
really evil behavior. And I
Mhm.
think you're right. It seemed like she really did kind of change and grow away from that as she got older, but that's something that I would think, especially if you are somebody who has evolved, would really, really haunt you horribly. So maybe getting that flyer for the rave from back then in the mail, maybe we're supposed to just think that
Yeah.
that completely triggered her and flipped her out or something. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. I definitely agree that it felt kind of unfinished and just like it's just a one sentence explanation like during kind of the big bad villain monologue like yep, she did kill herself. It doesn't feel quite
Yeah.
right.
It seemed like I just assumed that he was just saying that to like
Mhm.
try to break her down because it didn't seem like she would. Like, don't get me wrong, kind of like
Yeah.
you said, she was the ringleader. It was mainly her who came up with everything, and then it's coming right back. But I feel like this could have been the time for her to redeem herself, to be honest
Yes.
with what she did. And it seemed, I know we only was able to see her a little bit, but even with the flashbacks, it seemed
Mhm.
like she evolved, like you said. And so I just thought that um she was supposed to be a message, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who's to say, like, if they come back the next season, it could be somebody else's mom. There's probably a whole bunch of stuff that happened that we don't even know. That's why I'm hoping for a second season that we don't even
Mhm.
know, and then um Imogen would always say this all the time, like, there has to be a reason, like it's either, my mom was murdered or that, she decided to leave me. And I don't see that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
at all, regardless. If anything, okay, we're gonna pack up and we're moving, but
Mhm.
you know what I mean? There's no way that she would, I don't see her leaving her daughter and granddaughter in the world without her. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like I felt for her. I felt for her, as a cat, and I love that too because it was something new that and it happened within the first episode.
Oh,
You-
yeah.
And so, but Imogen, I love her so much. She just seemed like a sweet girl. And going back with Bailey Madison, who plays Imogen, I'm so used to always seeing her play the nice girl. And don't
What
get
do
me
you know her from? I don't know her before this.
okay, so she was in Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It came out back in 2011, I want to say. Let me
Oh.
She was like a little, obviously she was like a little girl.
Mhm.
um where is it? Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Katie
Okay.
Holmes is in it. She's also in, there's this made for TV movie. It's like a,
I'm already in, but go ahead. I love a made for TV movie.
oh my, yes, okay, and now I have to find the name of it because I feel like you would enjoy it. Where is it?
While you're looking, I have to say, it's funny that you said that she was in a movie with Katie Holmes because she reminded me a lot of Katie Holmes.
Mhm. Yeah, she does. She has those vibes. Okay, yep,
Yes.
that's it. So she was in this movie called Annabelle Hooper and the Ghosts of the Nantucket, and she solves a mystery. Yeah,
Whoa. I'm
yeah,
in.
it's a good time. It's a good time. But she was also in she was in a horror movie that came out a couple of
Oh.
years ago. The Strangers, Pray at Night. It came out in 2018. And then she was
Oh.
also in there's this series, Hallmark series. I like witches, so I used to watch it called Good Witch. It's about her and her mom. They live in this town. So yeah, she was in a lot of things. She was in the Fosters,
She's been out and about.
out and about. So that's what I mean. It's just she's awesome. She's an awesome little actress. So
She was great.
I love seeing because I'm used to seeing her as a nice girl. When she's in The Good Witch, she's a nice girl, and Nantucket, she was a nice girl. Oh, and she was also in The Haunting Hour. She was in like a couple of episodes. I think one of my favorite episodes about a doll. There's something up with that doll. So
Yeah.
it's cool. So point is though, I'm used to seeing her as being like a nice girl, not
Yeah.
pregnant.
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, she is pregnant, like about to burst any moment, and it's cool because, I mean, unfortunately, it's unfortunate what happened to her. We don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a boyfriend that she didn't want to talk about before we
Yeah.
found out Chip.
Yeah. Totally. So, just aside, Bailey Madison has some major horror chops, it sounds like.
Yes, she has, and so that's why I'm happy that she was attracted to the project.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I saw that she was pregnant, and I was like, "Oh yeah!" So I was just like rooting it on, and she did not let me down at all.
Yeah, she was great. I felt like she was a really good, like, centerpiece to this. And I'm with you. Even though I think it's not impossible about her mom that the writers have decided to just make it that yes, she killed herself. I'm totally with you. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like she would leave her and leave her with the baby. Like,
Mhm.
who knows why decisions get made in the writers' room and stuff. But I'm also kind of hoping that it's not as cut and dry as that, because it just doesn't fit with what we came to know of her character, and also just so incredibly sudden. Like, they're making plans to like raise the baby together, and then she gets a piece of mail and immediately marches upstairs and kills herself. I mean,
Yeah.
horrible things happen, but it didn't feel
Yeah.
right.
I think if anything, then she probably would have, like, because I'm also thinking too, like, wouldn't you just pack, not even pack, just pack an overnight bag, like you're going on an overnight trip, like you're coming back,
Mhm.
and then just leave,
Right.
take care of that stuff later. Or even if they want to be dramatic and pack up their whole house, sure,
Mhm. It's
but
a
yeah,
TV.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's just that could be more understandable. But then even seeing, because her stories, background story stuck with me. Tabby's, I love the character. I haven't seen the actress,
Me
and
neither.
she is phenomenal. She did a
She
great,
was great.
love her. Love the
Yep.
fact that she's an aspiring filmmaker and she's a horror nut like us. So it's
Yep.
very fitting. But then her relationship with her mom isn't always like, it's very surface level.
Mhm.
I'm not too sure why that is. Maybe it might have something to do with her dad, or you know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I like that they kind of kept it a mystery. And I'm not too sure of the name of her mom, but she's been in a
Her
lot.
mom's name. Oh, not I don't know her name in real life. Her name is Sydney in the show, as a little wink wink.
Yeah. Isn't that
Yeah.
great?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
just fun.
it's wonderful. But yeah, she's a great actress. I've seen her in a lot of things.
Me too. She was super familiar, but I can't really place her.
And what's Farron? I love Farron. I love that she is no longer, but before she was very prim and proper and wanted to do things perfectly. And even like she has a great relationship with her dad, but not so
Mhm.
much with her mom. And it makes a lot of sense because her mother doesn't live in Millwood. So it's just kind of
Right.
like it seemed like they would have a relationship, and she probably decided to stay with her dad because it seemed like maybe he wasn't always forcing things on her like her mother.
Yeah.
That made a lot of sense with that. But her mom, oh my gosh, like she made her daughter get surgery, and like
Yeah. I
she was
know.
with chronic pain since she was 8 years
Mhm.
old. That's horrible.
That is horrible. And they don't make it as clear cut as this, but like obviously her mom was kind of a bully in school, but I mean, that level of perfectionism and pressure that her mom put on her, I wonder if that's supposed to be at all in some way that's not super drawn out in response to the way that she was when she was a teenager, and trying to make things perfect. But really it's just kind of uh just not repeating the cycle of being sort of abusive, because it's not the exact same thing, but it is just being abusive in a different way. Like it ostensibly comes from love, but you're
Yeah,
right, to have her have surgery against doctors' orders and put her through that. It's
yeah,
not like a healthy way
yeah.
of thinking or of treating somebody
Mhm.
who's dependent on you. And I wonder if it's supposed to be connected to it, like if everything in their life of the adults is sort of like revolving around the fulcrum of the way that they were just horrendous to Angela Waters
Mhm.
and what happened because of it.
Right. And you know what? I didn't even think about that. I think that that's probably exactly what it is. I thought that maybe she was just putting pressure on her daughter because maybe she had some type of, whole back thing with her parents and not the best
Yeah.
relationship. But that makes a lot of sense with, it could even it shows like her when she was like a teen. And again, I go back to it with it's Davy, right? Imogen's mom.
Yeah. Mhm.
So with Davy again, Davy was like their leader, and they all just seemed like a follower somewhat. And I
Yeah.
remember at one point, I believe it was her when she was a teen, that she just asked, "Well, what if she's telling the truth, about being assaulted?" Or which that's another thing. With
Right.
the girl Angela, she was really like put through. She was like sexually assaulted by someone at the school who was dating Davy in high school.
Mhm.
And that boy just so happens to be, or Sheriff Beasley, who is the
Yeah.
father to Kelly and Karen, who's terrible. And he takes sexual favors from young boys in his car in alleyways.
Mhm.
And his wife knows.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's a complete nightmare
Yeah.
scenario, and there's just tough stuff, toof
Yeah.
stoof happen all over this town.
Mhm.
What did you think of Mouse's storyline? And
Oh,
like what were what was your journey with it? Because I was like super confused.
mhm.
And yeah, what did you think?
I was confused too. At first, I thought, okay, is she secretly doing OnlyFans? I
No,
don't know.
at first me too. I was like, she
Yeah,
seems super, super shy, but
right.
maybe this is how she expresses herself or something.
Okay, not that it's the same thing, but with the show Euphoria, there was a girl who was kind of shy and stuff, and then next thing you know, she's doing OnlyFans kind of.
Yep.
And so I kind of thought that, but then it's like, okay, no, she's still wearing her clothes. So I'm like, well,
Mhm.
maybe she just wants money from these guys. No, I was like, well, maybe she just wants to pretend that this person is her dad, but she's
Right.
probably like sleeping with them, but no. So
Yeah.
was she just like she had like a so she was talking to someone. Sorry, she was talking to someone.
It's a
And
lot to parse through.
it is. It's a lot. So she was video chatting with someone on her laptop, an older man, like a man maybe like in his late 40s.
Yeah.
And they seem like they have some type of relationship. She was wearing like a filter over her face. So I thought that maybe she just never, showed this man her face. Then
Mhm.
next thing you know, she's gonna go trick-or-treating with him and he's gonna buy her a costume. And I was like, oh no, is she sleeping with this man? But no, it was like really like a young girl type costume. I think there was like a Wendy costume from, Casper and
Some
Wendy.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, a lot of different costumes like for little girls. And so where her face was covered, she actually went trick-or-treating with the guy. And uh, where it turns out they were just pretending to have an actual relationship because the man, his daughter was missing, but then unfortunately they found her body. Don't really know. It was just messy. And then she was talking to this guy who was really into what happened to him. They were
I know.
right.
This was a crazy storyline. I was like, I've never seen anything like this before in my life.
Yeah.
How did they even connect in this world? So it's basically that she somehow found he was one of, it seems, multiple, because she had pictures of a whole bunch of guys with her, like in a box. One of multiple dudes that she, like a teenage girl somehow connected with, who had missing daughters, and then they would role play
Mhm.
that she was their daughter,
Yeah.
to offer some sort of healing or something. It's so sad when you get down to it. It's so twisted
It's,
and weird.
yeah.
It was such a strange plot line to me, because it didn't end up ultimately really going super anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think that they just wanted to have an element of like mystery going on with her. And it also, what was strange was that when the final showdown happens in the finale, where the principal has like lured all of the girls to the school
Oh,
and has set, oh, this, I mean, this was
yeah.
actually awesome. It was like Saw-esque
It was
in a way.
wonderful.
He set up rooms for each of them,
Mhm.
where he said like, you're going to face your bully, and had like a real person somehow restrained in every room, and basically like instructions for what to do to them once each of the girls got in there to sort of get revenge. And he was her bully in that scenario. But like, I mean, not that it was, obviously not saying it was fine that he was doing that, but it's not necessarily he was like a malicious
Right.
bully. He's like an extremely, extremely damaged
Mhm.
man, and she's also in a lot of pain because it turned out that she didn't know her father, and at one point she had been told that she was briefly for like 5 minutes, I don't even know if you could call it kidnapped, but basically like somebody took her by the hand and led her away at a carnival, and you find out later that that was her biological father because her mother got pregnant with her as a surrogate for
Yeah.
this father and his wife and then decided to keep her. It's
Yeah.
just all very like mixed up and like twisty. And I think I was both like intrigued by this plot line
Mhm.
while thinking at the same time it might have been like one of the weaker side threads.
I mean, I agree with you. It was weaker and it was a whole lot weirder,
Yeah.
because and very like and I don't mean that in a mean way. It was very twisted
Mm,
because clearly she's very much troubled. And I think that once her two moms when they find out about it and even the boyfriend of hers because her fake dad went bowling with her and her boyfriend and then he just starts spazzing out,
yes.
and
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, okay, I'm happy that, when she went to go meet him at the hotel, he just needed to really see her. He needed someone. He didn't want anything. He just needed,
Mhm.
someone. But her moms were just more happy to see her. And it's just like, okay, no one brought up the fact again that she was living this fake secret life. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's just like, hey guys, that's not normal. You know what I mean? Compared to all the other girls, like, which I know we're about to get to Noah and everything, but it's just like that to me there's something going on that I feel like she needs to like talk to someone.
Yeah.
And even when she tried to meet like her real dad and he didn't want really anything to do with her, I'm sure she needs to talk to someone. Clearly not her mom's because she doesn't want to talk to them. And I think she
Yeah.
needs someone else. So yeah, like it's just like and she would no longer have the internet in her room if I was her mother because that like that's crazy to me that's what you're doing. Like,
I know. I know. And like, how did this even happen? And also, the guy, when they come in the room where they have met up, the
Mhm.
guy isn't even like responsive to them. He seems like he's sort of in his own universe. Like, they come in and hug Mouse, and
Yeah.
he's just like on the bed. He doesn't even like look up or anything.
Mhm.
So, while none of it is cool, while he shouldn't be, no matter how upset he is, he shouldn't be looking for solace in a 16-year-old who's essentially a stranger to him, it still didn't really fit the model of like face your bully exactly. Because this is a man who he seems to have
Alone.
left reality the last time we see him, you
Yeah.
know?
And he left her alone, like, after
Yeah,
stalking her and stuff, and then she became the stalker, and,
right.
and then she wanted to talk to him again after it was just, like, a lot, like,
It's a lot.
a lot
Basically,
of stuff.
it's a lot.
It's worth it. I mean, they really do
Yeah,
spread it out within those, 10 episodes where you get, you know, it progresses, and I love that
it
about
does.
because I actually watch some shows where it doesn't go anywhere,
Yep. Yeah.
So it's one show I shall not name, but there's shows that do that often.
Yeah, they just kind of spin their wheels. It for sure progresses, and as, like, odd as I'm saying the storyline was, I was still so intrigued and
Mhm.
curious about what was going on.
Yeah,
So it was worthwhile and really interesting. But yeah, like, I've never seen anything like that before in
same.
my life.
Like
It was quite something.
it was. Oh my God. Like, yeah, her story just made me more, it was confusing and sad because it's just
Yes.
he needs someone to talk to. There's something going on. That's just she just needs somebody. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
The
Get
whole
this girl
time I was
somebody.
watching, yeah, the whole time I was watching, and then even like with her boyfriend, he was just like, "Yeah, it's cool." It's like, no, like I don't know. Nobody asked her any questions about that. Like,
They were understanding to a detrimental degree. Like, you wanna give people compassion and understanding, but also when something is wrong, you need to, like,
yeah,
kinda let's do something about it, not just like, "Alright, well, that was weird, hands washed of it."
pancakes for dinner. It's just like, no.
"No, we gotta talk."
But okay. Oh, and then the next, Noah.
Yes.
I really like Noah. I
I
like
do
Noah,
too.
you
I
know.
thought she was really good, and, like, her story was really good. I thought it was also really, like, she and her mom felt super realistic to me as, like, a mother and daughter. Like, they just felt really, really connected, and it's obviously, like, it's terrible that her mom pinned her drug thing on her, but you can feel that they have that almost
Mhm.
switched dynamic, which is it happens a lot, even though it's a shame, where a teenager is kind of parenting the parent.
I agree. And the kind of like what you said, it was very much realistic. And it
Mhm.
seems like even though the mom, she has her many issues, she still wants to support her daughter. So that's why she goes to work. That's why she's still trying. And she even has a relationship with her daughter, which is great. You know,
Yeah,
clearly her daughter is, she wants her daughter to be in a better position than she is, you
right.
know. But clearly what her mother did is just crazy. But it's kind of like she said, it's not unheard of, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Like that's a really terrible thing to do to your child, but it's not unheard of. And then also it just kind of just shows to Noah's love for her mother, because if she did tell obviously what happened, her mom could have went to jail, she would have lost her job, she probably would have just ended up in the system, you know, so
Mhm.
it just would have gotten messy. Whereas with her, she is, you know, underage, so it's just kind of like she would probably just have to go to juvie for a bit, maybe, you know, wear a bracelet.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that bad, you know, so it'll be fine. So I, you know, I would never, but I can understand, you know, where they're both coming from with that. And I love the fact that, you know, she has a love for track, like she still wants to do that. And then also with her boyfriend, you know, who's on the football
Mhm.
team, which I don't remember his name.
I do, 'cause I his name is Sean, and a
Sean.
lot of people thought that he was gonna be the sexual assaulter, and I was
Really?
re
Whoa.
I know, I didn't see it, but I realized that that theory was all over Reddit. So I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, man, is this like a where there's smoke, there's fire thing? Is that gonna be the case? I hope not," and it obviously
Yeah,
wasn't the
I'm glad
case.
not. I'm glad not. Yeah, that would have been. Please just give her a break.
Right, let this girl have a nice thing in life.
Yeah, please, just one thing. But yeah, they. I like them together. I think that they make like a great couple. He uplifts her. She uplifts him.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I thought it was weird that he was working at 4 a.m., but that's not on her. I mean, he's an athlete, so I just assume that that's sometimes what they do.
See, it's so funny because I thought the same thing. I am so not an athlete. So I was like, why is he working at 4 a.m.? But I was like, I don't know. For all I know, every athlete does this. It's a
Yeah.
world that is totally foreign to me. So maybe that's not as weird as I think it is.
You have your girlfriend in your room, and you're the
Yeah, you're just doing like crunches at 4 a.m.
oh, mm-mm.
What are you doing, sir? I also like that they further tied in. So basically, they have this place called Pinball Pizza
Mhm.
where all the main characters will converge and hang out. And it's sort of like the brew in the original Pretty Little Liars. And it's like a lot of shows, like there's Central Perk. There's
Mhm.
the diner in Seinfeld. Like they have their little place and they
Yeah.
like further ingrain themselves in it because Noah and her mom work there,
Mhm.
and I thought it helped the world feel like more lived in
Yeah.
and like realistic and fun.
And honestly, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I still love pizza to this day.
Who
So
doesn't?
thank you. You know,
Mhm.
but you know, as a teen, I remember always being at pizza shops a lot.
Yeah.
Like I'm still to this day. I know there's a lot of coffee drinkers. I'm not a coffee drinker. It's not for me. So I would.
Samesies.
We are just we're
I know.
so connected.
Look
But
at us.
yeah, but like it just makes a lot of sense. And they seem like they made these like with these characters, they seem like actual kids. Where
Yeah.
remember in Pretty Little, don't get me wrong, their outfits, the first Pretty Little, it was great, but why is Hannah wearing 6-inch heels like on a
To
Tuesday
school.
to school? That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So
Absolutely.
come on, that's not comfortable. I mean, you look fabulous, but it's just like that's not comfortable at all.
No. No,
Have you
it's not happening. Do kids do that? That's another one of those things like the jocks where I'm like, Are people wearing that to school?
That's what I thought, like wearing blazers, and I mean, you
Blazers, you're
look
so right.
but
Blazers left and right.
yeah, but with this one though, no, they dress like
Yes.
teens, and so I love it. And then they with them going to the pizza shop,
Yep.
that's how you do it. Yes, they were always. I hated the brew. I don't want to go there.
I know we're in the brew too much. I do think it looks nice and comfy, but it is way more realistic for teenagers to be like hitting a pizza shop, getting a $1 slice instead of like a $5 latte.
And it's like so small. Like,
So teeny, and it must be like 6 a.m. if they're
yeah,
doing this before school.
like no, and then no, like no. So I just,
No.
the pin pizza, was it pinpoint? Pinball.
Pinball. Yeah.
Yeah, but pinball pizza, it made a lot of sense that they were there. And I wasn't even like, oh, they're there again. It makes a lot of sense. Because like I said, I
Yeah.
was going to pizza shops a lot as a teen.
Hell yeah. It's cheap
Yeah.
and it's awesome. Which actually them going there is also something that I want to bring up. Like they let them be real friends, just having fun together. Like there's a ton of drama, but there's
Yeah.
not a lot of infighting with the girls, with the exception of the thing that we talked about, which is where the police are starting to focus on them with Karen's murder, I think it is. And I think that it's maybe Farron and Noah
Yeah.
who are early on in their friendship. They're not like super BFFs yet. They're like, why don't we sort of like squeal on the rest of them and then it'll get us out of trouble, which is totally understandable. They're not really tight yet. And these, like, if you got in trouble for that, that could have long-term real world consequences. And Noah already had her like ankle bracelet on and
Yeah.
stuff. But with the exception of that, like they just show them being like psyched to see each other all the time. And it was kind of refreshing.
It was. And it's like, I'm so happy that you mentioned that too, because we kind of talked about it, but that made a lot of sense. Like, if you're not really friends with someone, and technically, no, it wasn't my idea. I was just there. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Yeah, guilty by association, but I was just there. So it just kind of
Right.
makes a lot of sense with that. With I remember too with the first Pretty Little Liars, sometimes they would be fighting over the most ridiculous things, or if they weren't fighting, they're fighting with their families, or especially Spencer. Spencer was always fighting with her mom or her dad or her sister while she's in their house. I
Mm-hmm.
would never do that with my parents. Like, yeah, you could be upset with them, but it's just like, how are you going to be mad at them in their house? And I'm not coming home to what? Like,
Oh, a foreign concept to me, like just not coming home. Also, a lot of sleepovers on weeknights.
who does that? Where do they do that at besides
I,
Rosewood?
right. That's not behavior that I'm familiar with at
Mhm.
all. Just like calling your mom at 9 o'clock and being like, I'm not coming home. What are you talking about?
Exactly. That's my mom would say to me. What are you?
What you need to be here. You live here and sleep here. Like they had such a casual relationship with their bedrooms. It was really weird.
And then even with Sydney, Tabby's mom
Yeah.
told Wes off. Yeah.
Yes. She came in and she practically like dragged him out by the scruff of the neck.
I was living for it. It was like a good for her moment.
Oh,
No, you should not be trying to talk to a teenage girl. Like, what are
no.
you
No matter
doing?
how grown up she thinks she is and
That
projects, she's not grown up. So you need
no.
to go the hell away.
But yeah, like so like you said, it feels real. Like the relationships with the mothers, they seem real, where
Yeah.
like, no, you are like the child. I know they're not children, but you are the child. This is your parent figure. So it was just nice to like see that. Like it
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
really good.
I thought so too. All right. Well, I've kept you for a long ass time because I can't stop
I
talking to
know,
you.
but we haven't even covered. Okay, but I do have one more thing.
No, that's what I was about to say. Like, what else should we cover before we go?
So much. Oh my, we probably should have like broken this up and like
I
broken it
know.
a single episode. But the part that really made my heart melt, they mentioned Ezra and Arya.
Oh,
You know,
I know. I
how
know. it's like, it's so funny because I feel the exact same way. And we can recognize it's one of those things where it's like we're holding multiple truths. We can talk about how incredibly screwed up it is
Yeah.
that Ezra and Arya ended up together
Yeah.
after everything. And yet, even at the end of the original show, I was like, you know what? I love them together.
Yeah.
And when they were referenced in this, I was like, that's so nice. Good for them. Like Imogen is they're adopting Imogen's baby.
Yeah, I think that that's beautiful, and then she'll still be able to like see the child, so she'll be able to have like a relationship. But I mean, at that point, I was just Imogen. How was she just able? Because she spent time with the baby, she was just going to easily be able to give it. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I was surprised by that too. Like, I don't know a ton about how adoption works, but
yeah,
I think that usually when I've seen it, like portrayed in movies and TV, which is really the only experience I have with like the adoption process, because I don't know anybody who's had a baby and then had it adopted out. It always seems so instant.
mm-hmm.
And she was, it seemed like some amount of time had passed.
Yeah,
But like I guess she just was like at peace with the decision,
yes,
you
a little
know?
life, I guess, but. Yeah,
Yeah.
when they mentioned that, it just made my heart melt. Because even though we talked about it, like with Ezra, like, dude, she's 16, she was
Yeah.
16, and they've been through a lot together. But kind of what you said, you like them together. They must be together.
Right. They
And
must. We're not perfect. You know what I mean? We can have a problematic fave, and Arya and Ezra is a problematic fave.
yeah, they are, and now she's legal,
Right.
so
Thank
you know.
God.
So that's what I mean. So that just kind of like made my heart like, oh, happiness. And then immediately right after that, something terrible happens to Chip, which is wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. It made our heart happy in like a second, slightly darker way, which
Yeah.
is a great way to leave it off. Well, Zena, thank you. I mean, I could talk to you for like another hour and a half. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell everybody where they can find you because you're gonna want to find Zena. She fully rules.
Oh, you real too. And thank you again so much. Like I'm sorry. I feel like I kept you for so long. And
No.
I didn't even realize the time because I'm like, okay, yeah, now we're gonna break down each episode.
I know. No, I looked and I was like, oh my God.
Right? It just, I feel like the time flew by. But seriously, thank you so much. Like, I was so excited watching the show and I knew that we were going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that just made me even more just happier about it. So this was just, I just love talking to you. So with this, you again. So yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter, Lovely Zena. And then I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Real Queen of Horror. I was going to say TikTok, but TikTok I'm more of a watcher, so just lurking. Yeah, if you want to check out, some of my videos on YouTube, you're welcome to do that. Or I'm also the co-host of the Bloody Disgusting podcast. We have new episodes every Wednesday, and I give you guys some great recommendations because there's so much content. And I know for sure this upcoming week, I'm definitely going to be talking about my love for Pretty Little Liars Original Sin.
I mean, how can you not? There's so much to talk about, clearly. And we'll have links to everything that Zena does in the show notes. So seriously, it's no accident that she's on here. I'm a huge fan of what you put out, and I love talking to you. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and we will see you guys next time on a regular episode of Guide to the Unknown. You can find Guide to the Unknown everything at gttupod.com. You can also follow us on social media at gttupod, and we will see you later. Bye-bye. Zena.
Oh my God, I'm so seriously, I lost track.
I'm not kidding. I did too.